Here.
Michael.
Here.
Ritter.
Here.
Murdoch.
Here.
Okay. I would invite you all to now rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item is a public hearing on our 2022 CDBG project, correct?
That's correct, Mayor. I'll let
Brad, you gonna
introduce the
introduce
topic.
that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an ongoing step on getting the grant submitted for our 2022 project. Of course, as you know, we've have to do a public hearing to take public input on the projects that have been discussed. We did bring this to your attention at the last meeting, got some input from council on some additional projects. I did want to just kind of briefly go through the changes that we did make. I did follow up with Johnson County staff on whether or not a consulting-only project would be eligible, even if it was in the correct block group for our CDBG grant, and they said no, they're all typically bricks and mortar projects. Consulting can be part of the overall submittal, but to be standalone, that was not something that they would allow or accept. So moving forward with that, there was some additional discussion on the sidewalk on Park Street in addition to the water line. I did go out and walk that sidewalk. There's actually sidewalks on both sides of Park, and about half the sidewalk's in okay condition on one side and it's in terrible on the other. So it would have been nice if they were both in, or one side was in good condition, but they're both pretty rough, and certainly in sections. So, but there are certainly some other candidate projects that I think we could probably do that are in worse shape than the entire length of Park Street. We do have some catching up to do, obviously, in the older parts of DeSoto on repairing some sidewalks. And then finally, I did remove the project on 88th Street, the sidewalk, because it was not in block group 1, and replaced it with the Otto Street, 82nd to 83rd. It seems like it would probably, by the time we roll through the process for getting the grant monies allowed and approved, that project would certainly be ready by the time our project on Ottawa Street, redoing Ottawa Street to the north up to Riverfest would be complete. So I think that would be a good project to turn in for 2022. With that, I will stand for any questions. Basically, like I said, this is something we have to have in the record. I will submit the minutes from this meeting as part of our application as well, that we did hold this. And like I said, I'll stand for any questions that you all may have.
Okay. Questions for Brad? Then I guess officially we need to open the public hearing. So I now open the public hearing for our 2022 CDBG project. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this matter? All right, hearing none, I close the public hearing. And then will we take this up then later and pick our project, or?
Well, you can certainly. The applications are due the 27th.
I meant later in the meeting. I didn't see it
Oh.
on
Have
the
it
agenda
on as
later.
an action, as a separate action item.
Yeah, I guess.
So
Okay.
we should probably discuss that and decide now.
Okay, all right.
And
Thoughts from council on the, I'll throw mine out first. I do like the fact that with the Ottawa Street design and construction and then the timing of this funding, it would allow us to finish that pedestrian connection from the new Ottawa Street at Riverfest up to 83rd Street. I really like the thought of then, actually, we would have a complete link there. Actually, that would let us finish 2 links. We'd have a east-west connecting to the park, and then this would connect us to the Main Street corridor. So that would be my 2 cents. I like that Ottawa Street project, to get sidewalks from Ottawa Street improvements to 83rd.
I agree.
Kevin? Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Lori?
I don't, that's fine project, I really don't care. The one that I was gonna ask a little bit about was the Lakeview, or the,
Water
yeah,
line.
the water line out there, if that adds some benefit to trying to get possibly reinvestment in that area, or if that's, if it needs a lot more than what we would be doing by doing the water line out there.
Yeah, well, certainly.
I'm probably not saying that right, but you probably get my
No,
idea.
I hear what you're saying.
Trying to say.
So the idea behind the project isn't necessarily to spur new growth.
Right.
Or something more dense that's out there now. The idea is that the water mains are small and aging, so it would be just a renewal project. Although replacing them would allow for a higher density sort of scenario up there, which we've discussed with various potential developers in the past. The current owner of all the properties doesn't have any immediate plans to increase density. He's rehabbing the units that are there now, and that's kind of his cash flow scenario for the foreseeable future. So we did discuss, it's been years ago, but the idea of raising several of those or all those buildings and putting fourplex units up there or something like that. In that scenario, we would need to upsize capacity there, so it would. There's
It may or
nothing,
may not, though. I mean, I would say that the configuration of the streets or the location of utilities may want to change
Yeah.
with a true redevelopment. Something that truly took advantage of the site might need a different location of that infrastructure.
Right.
It would just end up having to be relocated
Okay.
again to facilitate that ultimate development.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One thing I might add is there are about 6 to 8 vacant lots in that development currently. So, and if they were to be built upon, they would have to be bigger certainly than the ones that are in there now. So there would be, if they are developed with duplexes in mind, I mean, they would need probably, bigger and better water lines than what's out there already. However, as the mayor pointed out, there could be actually some others coming down too as this process continues, as the owner rehabs some and they have taken down a few additionals. So
Does that water line also fall under the system maintenance and upgrades of the water distribution system?
yeah, certainly could. You know, we've got that fund that kind of rolls over. So we could, and you know, we've chipped away at it.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have.
Rob?
I'm good with Ottawa. I concur and agree on that one.
Kevin Ritter?
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay. Danny?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Mayor.
Okay. Do we need a formal motion?
Yeah, if you could, yeah,
Okay.
make a motion select.
I'll make a motion then that we use the Ottawa project from 82nd to 83rd sidewalks for our, which one is this? CBDG,
yeah,
GD
2022.
2022
I'll second
project.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Did you get that?
Back up, 'cause I can't figure out how to get
Yes.
All right. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. We will now move on to our consent agenda. On the consent agenda tonight, we have approval of the minutes from our council meeting of April 15th, approval of pay ordinance number 901, and approval of ordinance number 2508, annexing property at 30665 West 95th Street. Is this a point we would also want to make a motion to amend the agenda? Or after we adopt the consent agenda?
Maybe after, if you
All
don't
right.
mind, it'd be
Probably
easier.
a separate motion.
All right, does anyone have any item on the consent agenda they would like to further discuss? If not, would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Hannah Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, you want to make a motion to amend the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda to move item number F, discuss placement of public art, to the first of the agenda. So prior to discussing the Phase 2 design.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Call to public. Members of the public are welcome to comment about any matter relating to city business not listed on the agenda tonight. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted on by the council during this meeting. There's a 4-minute time limit. Does anyone wish to address the council under call to public? Okay. I haven't got an opportunity to say that spiel for several meetings, so I just had to run through it all.
We appreciate that.
All right, item 3, old business, we have none, so we'll go to item 4F, discuss placement of public art.
I would like to thank you on behalf of the DeSoto Art Council for making it possible to introduce art sculptures in our community through Art in the Public Places program. And I think you guys have got all the information that was provided earlier, except we have a couple of updates. Obviously, the date we had originally went for January to have our first call to artists put out, but we changed that with all the COVID and everything. It got pushed back. And we've got 2 people that have applied now, and we plan on having the presentation of the spring sculpture July the 3rd, so that'll coincide kind of with our 4th of July folks coming downtown and everything. And then for our second sculpture, it'll be our fall sculpture, and June the 1st will be the deadline for that. And the presentation of the fall sculpture will coincide with the DeSoto Days is our plans. And then we've got the 2 sculptures that were presented, and Diana met with Lori, and the Art Council also voted on that. And we voted on Tim Mispagel's, that's his on the bottom there, Native Spirit, that's made with steel rings. They're polished and beveled edges of steel rings. It's 4 foot by 3.5 foot by 2 foot. And we were thinking that with this first sculpture, it might be appropriate to put downtown. So with that, I would ask you all if you have any questions, or if that sounds good, or what are you all thinking?
Questions or comments from council?
I think Tim Mispagel is going to come.
We
But-
thought we were later, so he
Okay.
was on his way
So-
to introduce himself, or you can ask him questions.
So
We
if he
can
has
vamp a little bit.
a little dance.
Well, I guess our first part as a council needs to probably pass the resolution that makes this possible. Is that right?
Yeah, I
Mike?
was gonna mention, just from our perspective, Patrick prepared the resolution that you have at your places that we emailed out earlier in the week, essentially memorializing the intent of the program, and there are some specifics in that resolution that just establish kind of our general thought process on the application. Essentially, Patrick, I'll let you kind of run through the basics of the
Sure.
resolution.
And I did anticipate, with this first submission and choice, that we may be sort of,
Working our way
jumbling
through
it
the
a little
process.
bit together, and I think that's fine. But as laid out in the resolution, the process would be that first, the Arts Council would present their choice as for public art, and then you at the council, you would choose or agree with that recommendation, and that would sort of formalize that, yes, everybody's on board, that this submission is what the council is in agreement to do. And then from that point, it would sort of remand to the Arts Council, city staff, and I had also included the artist on sort of what I viewed as sort of the mechanics of making it happen, like, you know, where would the art be located, how would it be secured to the ground or concrete, what would the cost be for that, who would bear that, so just sort of a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff would be hashed out with city staff, the Arts Council, and the artist, and then once that was all worked out, that would also be accompanied by a contract that I would prepare between the artist and the city of DeSoto, and then all of that would come back to you for final approval that, you know, that you're all good with it, or, you know, would have more input on all of that. So, and I have had some discussions with Linda and Diana via email. And feel free, Linda, if you want to address any of that. But in talking to Mike, we, you know, many communities have a pretty elaborate program that's in the city code, and it goes on for pages. And I think Mike and I just thought that, you know, keeping it simple and general would be the way to go, and that's why the resolution is sort of generalized, because I felt like, you know, we could work within that framework without getting into too many details. I thought that a lot of the details could be addressed in the contract with the artist, you know, as far as what the lease would pay, you know, a lot of the details could be addressed in the contract, but and you know, maybe if this takes off and it's a, you know, successful program, maybe at some point we would want to include it in the city code, but for right now, we just felt like, you know, doing it via resolution was the way to go. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. Questions for Patrick?
So the resolution being simple like this, it really doesn't have like times and any of that, like how long it's gonna be there, when, that's kind of all just based on what the Art Council would bring us as a recommendation then, is that what?
Right, I saw in their materials, I think it does say a lease.
It's a
year
2-year lease,
It's
2 years.
1 year lease.
Is it one? I thought we had 2-year lease, didn't we?
Or did we?
I thought it was 1 year.
Sorry, maybe I said that wrong.
For a 1 year lease.
Yes, it is a
yeah.
1-year lease. I apologize.
Right.
And it's $2,000 is the amount that we put out on the, to
Call
the,
for
yes,
project.
call for artists. So, and then we also put on there, if the city should decide to purchase the artwork, it would be at a predetermined price. So when they first sign the contract, that's going to be where they state the value of the piece. And if you guys want to buy it, that's when we would settle on a price. That way it doesn't change over the time period. So,
So kind of this year is kind of running a little behind, well, not really behind, because it could be still put in place, probably a little bit behind or so, but maybe it won't be there June 1st. And then future years, beginning of January, you guys will take upon it to get this all started again.
Yes.
Put the call out, and then it'll just come back to the council as a recommendation again.
exactly.
Start with a whole new contract.
And we'll do that again this fall too, when we get more artwork in. We're going to put it out and hit it
So are we
again.
doing it once a year or twice a year, though? I thought.
We had
I guess,
originally said that we would do 2, it's my understanding, so that's why we're trying to get 2 done this year. So we'll have the spring reveal and we'll have the fall reveal. So, and we'll put out a new call to artists again and see if we can get some additional artists to submit their artwork. And we've contacted several artists that we had on our call to artists list, and Do you have a list of the other folks that we did? You want to come up?
Sure.
So then we're looking at like a $4,000 budget on that. Is
Right.
that what we put in? Okay.
I'm Evelyn Sonicson. Nice to be here. We contacted 6 organizations that are really major arts centers in the Kansas City area. So that included artskc.org, and they have another subsidiary called artskc.go.org. No, I think that's a .com. The Interurban Art House, KCAI, which of course is an excellent organization, and they were pleased to be able to share that. The Johnson County Community College, their arts area. The Arts Council of Johnson County, which after a while the verbiage gets confusing, and the Kansas City Arts Coalition. So those were 6 organizations, and I think there was probably maybe 6,000 or 7,000 artists that would be contacted with that, all of those different groups from this area and that contribute to this area, so.
And other additional individual.
Oh, yes, there were
artists as well.
some, personal, we knew some people in had contributed to the Lenexa organization, or their arts organization, and so they were given information too.
Is it
Okay.
10?
Wonder,
Thank you.
can you take time maybe to introduce Tim?
Yes. Would you like to meet the artist?
Do you want to finish the
Yeah.
discussion?
Okay,
Let's
we will in a
run through
second.
the resolution, and
Okay.
then we can address,
Okay.
Tim's piece.
All right.
So then for tonight, since we'll be approving a resolution, we still, we can approve this, but will we still need to have a contract coming back to a meeting before it actually gets implemented?
Yeah, my
right?
thought would be you would pass a resolution, then indicate if you're in agreement with this selection, and then at the next meeting, hopefully, we could come back with a contract and all that other,
Okay.
as far as location and any of those details. So,
Oh, okay.
Okay,
The resolution basically officially creates the program within the city with that, and puts the
Yes.
broad framework, and then we can, okay.
okay, I think I'm probably got answered or clarified what our project is, or what we're doing tonight anyway. so.
Okay. Rob, any questions? No. Danny?
No, Mayor.
Kevin Ritter, questions?
No, sir, I'm fine, thank you.
Linda, did you have any questions or comments about the resolution from the Arts Council perspective?
No, I think we've pretty much got them
Okay.
resolved, so we're okay.
Do we have a resolution number you can share, Patrick? Is it in the
Yes,
agenda?
1046.
What's
All
on
right, I
it?
make a motion then to approve Resolution 1046, supporting and providing guidelines for art in public places program suggested by the DeSoto Arts Council.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes,
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
and Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now, if you want to go into your selections for this year and
Okay.
talk about,
We have 2 selections. We've got Jacob Bermuds, and his is a loft, and it's a cold cast aluminum. It's 7 foot by 5 by 5. And that is our first one, and our second one is Tim Mispagels, and his is the Native Spirit. And Mr. Mispagel is a art teacher at the Olathe High School. And if I'd like to introduce him to come on up and tell you a little bit about his sculpture. That is the one we've selected at this point.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the time. And I'd like to commend the committee on moving forward on art in public spaces. I've seen firsthand how something like this is incredibly powerful for communities and lifestyle and things like that. So I actually teach at DeSoto High School and have been here for the majority of my career, and pride myself in involving our students in art opportunities. Last year, or I guess time goes by pretty quickly. It's been a year and a half, 2 years since we had student artwork from DeSoto High School in a DeSoto Arts Council sponsored event where artists in the community came in and we had a high school display. And I do work as a professional artist outside of education, and love kind of modeling what can happen outside of the field of education as a professional artist. I'm currently working on a piece, large scale, for Olathe West High School, doing a large owl bronze for that high school. And when this came across my radar, this opportunity, it just seemed like something that I was called to apply for, and feel so blessed that I've been selected to have a piece on display. So a little bit of history behind the piece, Native Spirit. I had lost my mom at the time of this piece, had recently started working in metal. I like to joke that my midlife crisis was learning how to weld. And so I just turned 50 this year. I've been welding for about 6 years, but having had a history of bronze casting, ceramics, once I kind of found metal, that opened up a whole nother style for me. And now in my sculpture classes at the high school, I do teach some welding, and am going to be one of the instructors that's at our new C-Tech facility. I will be teaching illustration, graphic design, and I teach an emerging tech class where we're working with students in our high school that have disabilities. So we're working on solving problems for them, and it's all sculptural based. So the skill sets that are involved, that are bridging kind of the arts and sciences, are things that I'm kind of finding mid-career right now, and just very, very useful. We're seeing institutions like the University of Kansas, their arts and sciences departments are now interacting a lot. MIT is another huge institution whose design program is solving some very real-world problems using art and the sciences. So something I try to model to my students, and I think this will be really, really powerful for my kids to see their art instructor having a piece in town. And I'm just very thankful for your guys' opportunity. So thank you for your time. I apologize for being late. I had to drive from Olathe back over here, so.
You weren't late. We moved this up to the start of the agenda to try.
Okay. I was like racing to get here, man. So it's like, but no, this is great. I've seen like a 1% for the Arts program really, really impact cities. And, that investment in the arts is incredible. As you guys know, just being around the work, it almost sends a message to the community that, okay, they're investing in the arts, and, just kind of raises that mentality of lifestyle. And of course, we're, very privileged to have the arts. So thank you very much for moving forward on this. And again, I'm really honored to be a part of it. Thank you. If you have any questions about the piece or kind of what inspired it, I referenced my mom. That kind of inspired it. I was looking for kind of more of an androgynous character that many people could identify with. And when you throw figurative artwork out there, it's, I think to keep it as broad as possible so individuals looking at the work can kind of like identify and feel like, they know something about it. That Native Spirit, the title of the piece, speaks to grassroots, and just, that resurgence and support of the arts. So that's kind of my mantra. So any questions, please feel free to ask. Or
Questions for Mr. or Ms. Pagel?
I think so.
Thank you for
Great.
your submission and sharing with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it, guys.
And I was concerned when I heard you had moved to Olathe. I thought, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, it's DeSoto High School. I've been with the district since 2000.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very excited about this C-Tech facility opening. Now we're just trying to get involvement, student interest in that facility. And, we're going to have pathways in the biosciences, which is going to prepare our youth for moving into the medical field. We've also got a design strand, which I'll be teaching in, as well as emerging technologies. So welding, cybersecurity, just a lot of the jobs of the future are going to be happening at that facility. So I will be out there for one full day, and then I'll be at DeSoto High School for the next. And I would welcome, you guys to come check out that facility. And just kind of see, like, you know, where the tax dollars are going. It's pretty special. And I've been in DeSoto for so long. I have a lot of colleagues and friends that teach in other districts. I've been, you know, recruited to try to leave this district and have never been tempted because of the type of community that we have here. And we're very, very competitive. As you guys know, our test scores, all of that is rivaling our biggest districts in the area. And, you know, having kids placed at MIT and some of the big institutions is just a testimony to what, you know, the grassroots education has done in our community. And as you can imagine, like, the arts are a huge component of that. STEM, you guys have heard the acronym STEM. There's also an acronym STEAM, which throws that art acronym into it. And so I'm always kind of like, you mean STEAM? You know, like, but it's all about problem solving. And the arts are something, like, for me to figure out how to do a piece like this, there was so much failure. And I like to tell my students, it's oftentimes like 2 steps forward, like, well, that didn't work. Then it's 1 step back, and then 2 steps forward. And you know, getting kids more comfortable with making mistakes and being okay with that, and understanding that that's a natural progression in learning. So, and that comes from some of our highest level thinkers that don't like to make mistakes. So thank you very much for your support of the arts. It's really been neat to see how the Arts Council has grown over the years.
Thank you.
Come out to CTech.
I'll sign up for a tour when that's.
Absolutely. We'd love to show it. There's going to be state-of-the-art facilities, so thank you so much.
You can take me too, Tim.
Absolutely. You guys are all welcome to come by and check it out. I can't wait to get in the building. I think it's going to be opened up here. July is what they're talking about. We might, fingers crossed, we might be able to get in and see it in July. So.
Okay, so now our decision then is to accept the recommendation of the Arts Council with the 2 sculptures, correct?
I think it's just one selection
Or one-
seating, right?
Just one.
Yeah,
We're just
okay.
doing the Mr.
Yeah.
Tim Mispagos.
Okay, we had 2 submissions and 1 pick. I got you.
And if I could just clarify the selection, Tim, will there be three items, or were you just showing the different
I
sides?
was actually showing in Photoshop. I tried to show because
3.
we were limited to 2 entries or 2 images. I tried to show all perspectives of the piece, so it will only be 1 sculpture.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
That would have been a lot of work to make 3 of those.
I know.
Uh-huh.
I know. Great
Okay.
question, though. I wondered if it would throw off.
Any comments or questions from council on this, or a motion to?
I'd like size of the one piece, the size.
4 by 3.5
Sure,
by 2.
I'm sorry.
Approximately 4 foot tall, maybe 3 by 2 deep.
On the corner of the image there.
I'm sorry.
The base is metal. isn't it?
Yeah, it's all steel, all carbon steel.
So I'll make a motion, we accept Tim Mispagos' artwork.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight and carrying the torch for the arts. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on then, item 4A, consider Phase 2 design services for Moore Park drainage.
Yes, council, have a bit of a report for you on the conclusion of Phase 1 and design services for Phase 2. You'll remember our park drainage project included a bit more analysis than just our typical construction project might. We really needed to figure out what the best way to drain the park was going to be, where the low spots were, and some recommendations about that. And then we also really needed to get a good look at the existing drainage system to see if it could be used and repurposed and be serviceable in the future. So late last year, we issued a contract for Affinis. We selected that firm to do the work. The phase one contract was about $22,000. And that phase is now over, and the result of that was this summary of findings memorandum, essentially, that was included in your staff report. So I'd like to just kind of go over what we found and the recommendations moving forward, and then we'll talk about the phase of the engineering contract. So as I mentioned, we all know the problems there. After heavy rains, water not only fills up, but it stays around for a couple of days, making large portions of the park unusable. Namely, this area kind of east of the gazebo. This photo here is kind of the existing layout, if you would. This area where we'd play soccer in the past, east of the gazebo, near the sand volleyball pit, would just fill up, and it would just be an absolute lake, for a few days after really heavy rain events. But then also in really more troublesome areas, that only happened probably once or twice every 4 or 5 years, maybe. But on a regular basis, there were several areas that we identified are just low spots down there that wouldn't drain anywhere. And you can kind of see those on an aerial image. There's a spot here along the path. There's several up here in the play areas and a few along the outfield lines of the ball field. So the overall intent was to, let's make this thing drain. So shown in blue here is the existing drainage system. So we knew there were inlets here along the eastern side of the path that connected to a system that ran along Hadley Road and then went onto the engineered air property, and eventually we're pretty certain that it eventually got to the river somewhere. But really that was kind of all we knew about it. So as it turns out, the system does exist, and the general layout is shown here in blue. Storm sewer pipes from these inlets do tie into a storm sewer pipe that runs along Hadley and dumps into a manhole that's kind of in the parking lot of the feed and grain area. And from there it gets a little strange, because from there it appears like it was originally constructed as a sanitary sewer line that goes to a manhole under the engineered air parking lot, and then goes under the railroad tracks and outlets in a structure that's along the riverbank north of the tracks. The portion from the manhole in the parking lot of the feed and grain out to the river is a smaller. It's a 10-inch line, and then it's a 10-inch line from that structure on down. Upstream of that, it's larger diameter storm sewer stuff. So it looks like they made use of some abandoned sewer line in the past. There's a new sewer line obviously now, but they made use of the abandoned sanitary sewer to put the storm sewer in so the park would drain. So what we have is a situation where hydraulically it's limited at that point. But we can live with that, because really the intent right now isn't to make sure that the park can drain an extremely intense rainfall event that only happens once a year or once every 5 years. Really what we want, we understand there's going to be water problems when it's raining like crazy, but we don't want these low spots setting and killing the grass and becoming a muddy mess, and we don't want Lake Miller Park down there after it's implemented. So the intent here is to get it to drain, within several hours after a big rainfall event, so that the park can be generally functional most of the time. So just the fact that the line is undersized isn't necessarily a deal breaker. What we wanted to do is obviously camera this line, find its condition, clean it out as best we can, and most importantly, find its condition under the railroad tracks. Because if it's a problem under there, then we would be looking at a new bore under the railroad tracks that would be completely a scope orders of magnitude beyond the scope that's in our CIP. So good news, bad news type of scenario on that. I won't go through this report in detail, but I'm just going to buzz down to the last map here. Kind of what the findings showed from this analysis. And there's pictures here of the inside conditions of the pipes and and it goes into quite a bit of detail. But what we did find was that the pipe is in generally good condition from under the park and actually along Hadley Street. The storm sewer pipe that's there is in good condition. Here by the feed and grain, the inlet's in a gravel parking lot, and as a result, the pipe downstream of there was almost a third or a half full of gravel, and it kind of still is. So we're going to have to get that cleaned out. But then as it dumps into the old sanitary sewer, it turns to a clay pipe, and even that's in decent shape, except for a few spots just north and actually under the engineered air parking lot. There's a sag and there's a partial a blockage and a piece that needs to be repaired. And then under the railroad tracks, kind of the best news was that it appears like it's serviceable and in generally good condition. I wouldn't call it pristine condition, but it's in serviceable condition under the railroad tracks. So that's the best news that we got, that we don't have to think about a railroad bore. And then at the end of it, it looks like there was a structure at the outlet that has since collapsed. And so the outlet of the pipe is actually buried in this rubble structure, the old structure. So it'll have to be cleaned out. So to fix the existing system, we've got a couple of point repairs under the engineered air parking lot. We'll have to go down and clear the rubble off the far end of the system, clean the gravel out from under Hadley. But other than that, the system is in serviceable condition, and you know the thought is that once we get those repairs made and get the line cleaned out in its entirety, we can move forward with the project. So the recommendations are to do that. The other one last recommendation, when we're doing the investigation, we dug up. There's not an inlet, an access point between this manhole and the outlet. So we dug a spot just south of the railroad tracks, dug the line up. It's pretty deep. It's surprisingly deep, and exposed it there so we could televise each way. We're going to put a new structure in there. We're going to get the debris out of the outlet. A couple of spot repairs under the engineered air parking lot. So that'll take care of the existing system, and then of course get it all cleaned out. For the new system, and this map here shows the low spots that we've identified early on, and you can see in here. The red line here would be a new drainage system, and this would be HDPE pipe, relatively small diameter, probably 8 to 10 to 12 inch in diameter. These area inlets wouldn't be the traffic load rating type of inlets. They'll be more of a park setting, the plastic PVC type area inlets. And really it's designed to kind of catch these low spots that we've identified. And we're going to have to work it through the trees and the play equipment in the play area. But in general, we did have to connect here at structure 102. We were hoping to connect up here further, but this line's very shallow until it gets to the tennis courts. And then it's deep. So it's just not quite deep enough to drain from this far inlet all the way to inlet 100. So we're going to have to go this route with it. That's the plan. Finally, the only other thing here, this area, this oval here, is some grading improvements. So we can get the area to drain, but we'll have to do some, I don't want to call it mass grading, but grading of a significant area where we used to play soccer to get it to drain toward the inlets. So that's the plan. That's what the phase 1 found out. So phase 2 includes design drawings, specifications, and some help with the bidding and construction phase services for all that. So what's being proposed now for phase 2 totals $29,340. $9,000 of that is permitting associated with the railroad. We hope to be able to avoid that. So we talked about the structure that's collapsed. It's our hope that we can just take city crews, tell the railroad, we've got some maintenance to do over here. Take city crews with the city backhoe and clear that away and be done with it without a great big permitting process through BNSF. If they don't think that's appropriate, if they make us include in this contract, work with the BNSF and permitting it, I think, I don't know how many of you have been around.
Is that in there right away or?
Yeah, it appears like, well,
Outlet, is
we'll have
it
to
in or
cross,
past?
we don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't really
So
know.
if it's in the right of way, we can issue them a letter and tell them they need to clean the outlet out, that because they're causing damage to our park from
Oh,
a
that's another
culvert
side.
under their railroad.
That's another angle. I'd be
If they don't
happy,
want to cooperate on the other side.
happy to chase that down, yeah. Our hope is that we can just do that without a permit, but $9,000 of the 29 is that permitting process. It's quite a process.
Yeah.
So we hope to be able to avoid that. So together with phase one, our hope is that the overall design effort is going to be right around 42,000. You'll remember we had in our CIP, we budgeted 30,000 for the design. So it still would be a bit over what we expected to spend. But, you know, there was quite a bit of work to get to analyze to get to this point. So I would recommend, I'm asking for your approval on phase two design services for 29,340,
And hopefully not have to spend the nine.
and hopefully not have to spend 9,000.
Questions for Mike?
Yeah, Mike, when it goes across engineered air, is it in an easement?
That's the other part of the phase two design, is to track that, whether or not it's in an easement.
Okay,
I've had some preliminary discussions about the granting of that easement. I don't think we're gonna have to pay for it if it's not.
okay,
We're gonna take that approach.
okay. So
Yeah.
that'll be addressed. Thank you.
I don't think, I'd be surprised if there isn't some easement there, because it used to be a sewer line, and we've got, if you could see on this, there's a sewer, the sanitary sewer line that parallels this, just 10 feet away. I know that's in an easement, so we'll find out.
Any other questions? Anybody want to make a motion to approve the,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the, sign the Phase 2 engineering services contract for the Miller Park drainage improvement with Affinis in the amount of $29,340.
Second?
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Hannah Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll get going.
Item 4B, consider easement grant to Evergy for roundabout project.
Yes, council, I'm not sure if that's a completely accurate title I gave to this, because it's kind of associated but not exactly necessary. So when we were designing the roundabout project, we asked all the utilities to, hey, get out of the way, and Evergy was designing their improvements. They're gonna take all the overhead and put it underground. So that, I think that'll be a fantastic improvement
That'd
to
be
the
great,
aesthetics of the area. We're very happy about that. But they identified that the existing overhead line that runs along Lexington Avenue, which has been there forever, they identified they did not have an easement to cross that parcel. I'm gonna zoom in. So I don't know how well you can see the power poles that are here, that run along the east side of Lexington. They're actually in a parcel that that really is a parcel that contains the railroad right of way. And if you remember, a few years ago, Ken Fry, who developed a Corridor 10 Commons Park, quitclaim deeded that parcel to the city because he just didn't want to mess with it anymore. So we actually own the underlying property here under this part. Westar's just asking if we could grant an easement that includes that line, and then also, it's really faint, but they also have a line that crosses the north end of that right here that heads down towards Seldom Rest. So they're asking that we grant, and that's the shape of that easement right there, that we grant them that permanent easement. I talked with them about this. I was pretty sure they had a prescriptive easement since they'd been there so long anyway. Their concern is just a little bit of the work that they need to redo for the roundabout is in this area, and they worry that, you know, because they're increasing what they're doing there, that prescriptive easement might not cover the work they're doing for the roundabout. In either case, I think it's reasonable. I don't see a downside to it. They've asked for it and recommend that we go ahead and grant them that. And that easement is shown there in Exhibit A. They have a legal description for it, and this easement grant is our typical a typical grant for easement rights there, so. Ask your approval for the easement for Westar, Evergy, sorry.
And it's Evergy specific, right? It's not a general utility, but it's an easement to Evergy.
Just them, yeah.
Questions?
That spur that goes off to the right, is that underground also?
No, it's overhead, and it'll
It's
stay,
overhead?
it'll stay overhead, yeah. I don't know how well you can see it, maybe if I. It's that,
Patrick, does that work for these folks? Do I need to abstain for this at all?
Oh. Okay, thanks, Mike.
No, Kevin, you do not.
Thank you.
that's.
Any
that.
questions, other questions? No? Motion?
I'll make a motion, we authorize the mayor to sign the document granting Evergy an easement across Track B of the Quarter 10 Commerce Park.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter, Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, item C, consider donation request from Caw Valley Sportsmen's Association for the fishing derby.
Yes, council, this is something we do each year. These donation requests, they do come to the council. We have a policy for them that talks about eligibility and funding criteria, some other specifics. We've granted a similar amount to the sportsmen, Caw Valley Sportsmen for, I don't know, last 5 or 6 years at least.
20 years, Mike.
20,
Well,
probably.
not this amount, but we've granted some.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I've been on the council, not 20, I've been on 20.
It's pretty routine anyway. They're asking for $1,000, which
12
is the
years I've been on, we've done it every year.
Yeah, yeah. I did break down, we reduced our, I think years previous, we had 10,000 allocated for charitable contributions in the admin budget. We knocked that down to 8 this year, because we haven't fully utilized it in 4 or 5 years. In either case, we do have some specific set-asides in the budget, and I've listed those on this spreadsheet. What would remain available is 3620. And the sportsman's, amount would be 1,000 of that. So, I would recommend approving this, for the fishing derby. They're gonna move it out to Lexington Lake. I think years past had been on Prudence property there off of Kill Creek, and so now it's gonna be at Lexington Lake.
I'll make a motion, we approve $1,000 to Caw Valley Sportsman Association for the 2021 fishing derby.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter, Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Item D, consider agreement with Indigo Design for Riverfest band shell design.
Yes, council, yeah, I think this will be a familiar item to you. We worked with Doug Pickard over the fall to come up with several iterations of the final design for the band shell. He wanted to express his apologies this evening. He had fully intended to attend the meeting. Got his calendars mixed up with the weeks. Today is his wedding anniversary, so he chose his wife over us, which I think I told him was a good idea. He did extend the invitation to be available at the next meeting to answer any questions or discuss this in more detail, if you wish. His proposal for design services is there attached is Exhibit B. Again, this would help us bid the project, get the specifications for the shelter, and make the thing a reality, essentially. Design fees maximum $6,800, I think, is extremely reasonable.
Yeah.
It's probably about half what the actual value is. So I would recommend proceeding with approval of his services. And I know the mayor is intending to implement a funding campaign for the shelter, but I think either way, if we get it fully funded, great. If we don't, we still need funds. Right. like to move forward with this.
Okay, anyone have a question or someone like to make a motion?
Y'all make a motion, we authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Doug Pickard and Indigo Design.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ritter, Lane,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Item E, consider recommendation for engineering design consultant for the Ottawa Street reconstruction project.
Yes, council, you know how Tim Spiegel was talking about not being afraid to make mistakes? Well, I'll have to come clean on this one. I did make a mistake with this one. We sent out the RFQ as we normally do. It's kind of broadcasts out to consulting firms. We get those proposals back, and we had committee review those proposals. We made a selection for CFS. My mistake was that I got a proposal from Burns and McDonald.
No, George Butler.
I'm sorry, from George Butler from GBA. Yeah. See, I'm still making the same mistake. I got a proposal from GBA, but I just missed it in my inbox, and it wasn't included in the materials that I gave to the selection committee. I felt terrible. That's kind of my worst fear about something like that. As a consultant spends time to get his qualification statements, and I don't even put them in the mix. So they realized that and contacted me on Monday, and I apologized for the oversight. And I did provide their proposal to the selection committee with the request that, please review this in light of the other proposals that you got and the decision we made. Let us know if you think that we need to take a step back, delay the decision. I didn't hear from any of the committee members. Those were Danny, Rob, the mayor, myself, and Brad. So we're all in the room. So I'll allow you to jump in if you want to about the selection, about that aspect. But moving past that just a little bit, of the other RFQs, we did select CFS. Their proposal was, I think to a person, thought that it was significantly above the others, mostly because of their pretty firm understanding of the project concept and what our goals and objectives were. They obviously spent some time to get to know what our intended scope was, and reflected that in their proposal. They also included Justin Milburn, our local civil firm, in their team, so we thought that was a benefit. And they've got quite a bit of experience with railroad permitting, so that's a big part. That'll be a big part of this. So the selection committee, without the GBA proposal, did select and is recommending CFS. I'll stop there. The formal selection would be the council's head nod on selection, and then we'll bring back a scope and fee.
To follow, we did do a video interview or a Zoom interview with, I guess it was a go-to-meeting interview with CFS as part of the process as well, to confirm the knowledge they have was more than what they could write, that they could also speak it, and they did speak well regarding their knowledge of the project during that interview as well. It's unfortunate that we did miss GBA. I would like to proceed with the selection of CFS, and I'll open other comments or questions from council.
I was going to say, having reviewed GBAs, it wouldn't have changed my decision or recommendation.
Are you looking for consensus on the
I think
recommendation?
what we want to do is, before we move into contract negotiation, really Mike wanted just to tell everybody that we'd made a selection and we're going to go to, and then rather than, I don't.
And with the size of this project being one of the largest capital improvements we've done in a while, I think that's where Mike was wanting a little bit of the whole council.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so you're just looking for
Head nod.
consensus here to move
Yes.
forward. The action would be
Just
when
on
you bring.
the selection, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll support the recommendations of the selection committee.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. And Kevin? All right, any other comments on this? Then I think, Mike, you got consensus. We can
Yes, yeah.
proceed, and I guess we'll write a email or a letter to GBA apologizing.
Yeah, I did. And so, in terms of that, how do we stop this from happening? So
Right.
what happened was, I just asked for electronic submittals to be emailed to. And I just missed it in my inbox. And I think what I'll do in the future is require a confirmation that I got it. So ask the consultants to get confirmation that I've gotten it. So that'll,
They'll bug you until they get that confirmation.
yeah, until they get the confirmation, then they're not on the list. And so if a week goes by, they can contact me and say, hey, are you looking at my thing? And then I can realize. Maybe there's a more sophisticated way to do that.
There probably is.
Yeah. We could do online submittals through Drexel or something like that, maybe.
Perhaps.
Yeah. It was just, yeah, I did apologize because, GBA, they've got a couple of folks there who've reached out to me in the last 4 or 5 years, several times a year, just making sure that we're on their radar screen when we go out for RFQs, and then this happens.
Well, and I think GBA helped us a couple of years ago put the application together for
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
bridge
they did.
submittal, when we thought it was a bridge.
Right. Yeah, they did.
See, so that doesn't speak well of them. They didn't know it wasn't a bridge, so I don't know.
Well, we didn't know either.
John, don't take that personally. That was to John Carter. I'm giving you a hard time.
Okay.
All right. I do feel bad about that, but we gotta move on. All right. Discuss placement of public art. Oh, we've done that.
Yeah, we have.
Consider tractor lease for street department.
Yes, council, this is kind of the next phase of our equipment and vehicle replacement program here. We started it several years ago, and we decided we're gonna be leasing kind of contractors' equipment, and then we'll be purchasing rolling stock. And one of the first leases we entered into was a 3-year lease with John Deere for a mower. Well, that was 3 years ago, and so it's time for a new lease. So this is just a rollover of a piece of equipment that we had. In that 3 years, we've come to realize that the equipment that we spec'd out might be a little small for what we're wanting to do with it. And so the new lease is a larger machine, and it also comes with a mowing attachment that allows us to mow side slopes of a street while the tractor itself remains on the pavement, on the level pavement. That'll work out much easier, much quicker, much safer for the crews out there. So we'll be able to, our abilities will be enhanced there.
Is that opposed to the arm?
I'm sorry?
Is that
No, let me
replacing the
show
arm
you.
in some cases or not?
Let me show you. It's actually a mowing. So this is the tractor, little beefier thing. The attachment is here. So it's just looks like a regular brush hog, but it's off to the side of the tractor. And so this can be lowered and raised. The one we have now just goes behind the tractor, so the tractor would have to run on
In
the
the
side
ditch as
slope.
well, right.
Yeah. And if it's side slopes that it can't run on, then we have to do the boom mow that's on the big arm. And so we'll be able to get to more with this rather than having to use that boom mower. That's one thing that'll save us some time.
We're gonna have some slick looking right-of-ways, I'll tell you. They're looking good.
Yeah, they should be looking good. So this is kind of the new, and that attachment's included in this lease that the 3-year lease for the John Deere was only about $6,000 a year, and when we do our 5-year projections, we expect that to increase. So I'd projected $7,400 for this year for this lease. The proposed lease is $8,820, and that's a function really of this attachment and the larger tractor, because this attachment can't go on a smaller tractor. It needs the bigger tractor. So it's $1,400 more than what we have in the budget, but we can absorb that in the general fund, and it's not going to cause us a big hassle on the budget side. Last thing I wanted to bring to your attention, 3 years ago when we were looking into the tractor lease, we pursued Kubota for a lease at that time, and they had some provisions in their contract that we just couldn't work through, so we wound up to John Deere. Those provisions are largely still there, and Patrick's worked with them as much as possible. They're just not gonna budge on those. The main one is this indemnity that we're required to give them if this tractor causes any injury or harms anybody. And Patrick, you stop me if I'm misrepresenting the concern there, but the concern is if this tractor is somehow faulty or the mowing attachment blows apart through no fault of ours and injures somebody, we've indemnified Kubota for that failure. Is that? in a
Yeah,
nutshell
that's
what-
fair. I mean, most contracts we do, we're able to push back and say that, well, the indemnity would only apply if it's a fault of the city. And Kubota was just very clear from the get-go, even despite me going back several times to them, that they've just made a corporate decision. They're not going to change any terms of their template contract. We do have a full warranty, so that indemnity provision was really my only big concern, and as Mike, I think, pointed out, it's a pretty remote possibility that would happen. Obviously, that would be an insured claim. If that were to happen, the city's insurance would cover the city on that, so it wouldn't be that we're out city funds, but.
How much difference in cost was there between them and the John Deere equipment? I mean, if we worked with Heritage before and been able to get a lease we like,
Yeah, so, well, the Heritage it's in here. It's quite a bit more.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it was about twice as much.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 12,000, not twice, so it'd be 12,000 a year.
Another 4,000 a month,
Yeah,
3,500.
it's quite a bit more, and this unit, the street department guys really like the Kubota, they really like the Kubota equipment. It's
This
great,
one
I mean,
isn't
it's,
as big.
huh?
This one isn't as big.
Well, so the equipment that Heritage is proposing is the larger size tractor.
Is the large.
It was, we tried to spec them, now it's a John Deere.
We tried to do apples to apples.
We
as much
tried,
as we can.
yeah, we tried.
Okay, that was just I didn't find that 12,000 in the,
Well,
or maybe I didn't believe it would be that much.
yeah, it's quite a bit more.
But I just being yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
payments,
over
12,554, yeah.
Yeah, it's 4,000 a month or a year,
Yeah.
whatever, so that's significant.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised too.
Are you looking at that? That's not just the price of the. The
No, he
total
was
sell
on the-
price on it? That looks like that's the price of the ditch. I guess I'm a little confused on the
It
pricing
was
then,
going,
too.
it's the lease pay, it's like the next to last, it's the, I don't know, maybe, oh, no, I'm looking at the Massey Ferguson.
Yeah, there's
It's
also. a
12.5
Massey
something, yeah.
Total selling price.
So is the John Deere, the
That doesn't-
56.5 and the 12,000 for a total of 68.50?
66.50. What was the
Yeah,
total
so
on
John
the
Deere is
selling
68.50.
Yeah, 68,500.
What was the total?
But
That's
the-
cheaper than the other
But the
one.
Kubota is 71.
The Kubota's 71
Yeah, but I think the terms were,
Okay.
for 3 years and 4 years. I mean, I guess, I don't see what it is per
Yeah, there's no
year on that breakdown.
we didn't.
It's not an annual breakdown, so it doesn't
amortized
look right.
price on the Heritage.
Because the
quote.
Coleman, you have a total, like Rob's saying, of 71,340. But the total on the other one is
Heritage is 68.5.
68. thousand.
Yeah.
So it's actually,
Yeah, you know, and I think, yeah, that's the price of the unit, and, yeah, I don't, maybe I just didn't include it in the materials we
I don't
have.
see any,
Yeah, because you include the least cost in the narrative, but it doesn't seem that you have the backup
Yeah,
that supports how you got to the least, because you've got those itemized pretty well. I mean, you say it's $8,820 per year, and you've got what you paid previously, but it just doesn't seem you included the
well, I didn't include
conversion to the lease costs.
the lease payments for the Heritage and for the John Deere's and
Yeah.
Massey Ferguson.
right.
Right.
The lease payments aren't in there. And maybe they were, because Ron sent me this stuff by an email, and I think he included, I just didn't put them in there, and I don't remember exactly what they were. But I'm pretty sure they were significantly higher. We could,
I guess, would you, I mean, I would.
And
can
if
we
they were
just
higher,
confirm
was that because it was 3
Yeah.
versus 4 years?
Right.
yeah,
I guess, and then there's
Some of this-
Price,
the
cash
land
down.
pride mower, the equivalent of what's on the back of the Kubota.
right. Yeah, we could do that. I could confirm that.
I'm sorry.
Because then if you go to the next one down, you know, it shows a total purchase price of 70,500 some. So I guess the numbers aren't all, seem to be matching up right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, the lease purchase price $75.25, and there's no amortization.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I could bring that back at the next meeting. We could clarify that.
So do we want a motion to table this item?
Sure, let's do that.
Let's do that.
I'll make a motion to table the item on the tractor lease for the street department, item 4G on this agenda.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 4H, approve administrative fee payment to Mark for the 83rd Street Bridge funding.
Yes, council, I think we announced previously, we were awarded $1.5 million in STP block grant funding through Mark. Yeah, so that's a big win for us, for the Auto Street project. That funding's actually gonna come, be formalized in a form of an agreement with KDOT. So that's coming later, the actual money part of it. But Mark, being the regional planning outfit that determines the funding amount, does charge an administrative fee. And that administrative fee is laid out in the approval letter that's included there in Exhibit A. It's a 1% fee on the total award, so the total is $15,000. And they asked for that up front, so I've got the invoice sitting on my desk. It's over my spending authority, so asking for your approval to pay Mark the 1% administration fee of $15,000. We'll take that out of the CIP.
What if we don't use all the 1.5 million?
Huh.
Get a refund?
I wonder if we get our refund back. I
Yeah,
think
a
it's
little
based on the
contrary.
award
A
amount.
little contrarian tonight, all right. Does anyone have any other pertinent question as opposed to, or a motion to approve or authorize?
I'll make a motion authorizing the payment of the 15,000 administration to Mark.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter, Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Automike.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Item I, budget discussion.
All right, how much?
You've been waiting for.
Well, how much energy do we have to talk budget? We can click on this link and bring back all the stuff we talked about at the last meeting. I just thought,
No.
I thought based on the reaction at that initial presentation and the length of our agenda, I don't have really any new information on the budget other than to open it up for discussion or any questions about what you've seen so far, other than just this idea that we're working on. Ron and I are working with Enterprise, it's actually a division of Enterprise Rental for a fleet management lease arrangement. When they first approached me, Cynthia Wagner threw me under the bus and recommended they come talk. They have a deal up there in
Smithville, huh?
She recommended they give me a call, and initially I was not interested at all. We've got a great program for rolling stock. We borrow from the electric reserve. We're replacing these things every 6 or 8 years. You know, we've got it handled. We don't need to listen. But I did listen, and it looks like it could save us some money, and could put us in newer vehicles that require less maintenance and are more fuel efficient. And you know, just help us with efficiencies. The idea is that new trucks are purchased through their pool on a bulk basis at quite relative discounts. They outfit them, we use them for 2 years, and then they sell them again. You know, so it's kind of like the same idea with the rental cars. They buy in bulk at good prices. They keep them for 1 year, 2 years, then they resell them on the market. And resale market for pickup trucks is insane right now. It's always insane, really. But they can get quite a good value return for it. What that allows them to do is save us money and put us in trucks that are newer, 1 or 2 year old trucks, rather than some in our fleet are 6 or 7 or 8 or even 10 years old by the time we replace them. That'll save us on maintenance cost. So it's something we're looking into now. It's a new concept for us. We have 20 such vehicles that would fit into this program. They don't do the big stuff. They don't do dump trucks. They do the Ford F-150s, F-250s, F-350s all the time. They can go up even to, I think a 550 maybe but that's getting into ground that they're not really comfortable with. Some of the things we want to make sure is when we get a new vehicle, we buy the truck and then we outfit the thing. So at a minimum, there's lights to put on, there's backup alarms and things like that. Some of these have service bodies on them too, with toolboxes and all, whole 9 yards. And they say that they're able to provide that as well. They'll outfit them how we want them. There are new light bars and things. So it's a very attractive idea so far for us. My inclination, unless I find something that I don't know right now, is to maybe recommend that we start with the program. They kind of laid out a multi-year program where all of our existing stock gets sold off and we roll into these 2-year leases in the course of 3 years. The first year we're selling 10 vehicles, the second year we sell 5, something like that. My thought is that maybe we pare that down a little bit. Maybe we do 5 vehicles the first year and do the 2-year lease with the 5 vehicles and see how that goes. There's no obligation long term to continue that through our fleet. So if we do it and it doesn't work out, we do 3 to 5 vehicles. We're in it for 2-year lease with them. At the end of that, they take them back and we're done. We could be done with them, or we could keep going. So, it's intriguing. It looks like we could save, right around 15 grand a year, which isn't, in the scheme of the budget, isn't great, a lot, but it is a savings. And that really that just includes the 15 grand a year is just the purchase of the vehicles over their lease proposals. So that doesn't even include savings on maintenance and things like that, that I know we'll have, but are harder to quantify and show. So that's just an interesting concept, I thought, that I'd introduce, since I'm seriously considering it. And we'll bring back more specifics as we get further along in the budget. So that's all I have on the budget.
Okay. Any questions for Mike on this or any other part of the budget? Okay. Executive session, none. Advisory reports, Mike, you're up again.
A couple of quick things. I included the council on the latest and hopefully one of the last personnel policy things related to the COVID situation. As you know, the county lifted the mask mandate and passed a resolution strongly encouraging mask wearing. It kind of leaves it up to businesses and individuals to make their own decisions about that. Had a conference call with the other city managers in the area, and I think almost everyone indicated they're still going to require the masks for their own employees, like in the job type setting. So that's what the policy says. Essentially, we're not really changing what we expect out of our employees for now. Still wear masks while you're in contact. We still physical distance. We still want to maintain those restrictions. But for the public area out here, as you come in, and we're limiting the public area. There's no mask mandate. There's no mask signage. There's none of that. We're not gonna enforce that. There will be a sign. I think there is a sign now that says masks. We're gonna revise that and just say masks beyond this point, so no one comes in and thinks that it applies to me standing here in the public area. But that's the approach we're taking. So I sent that policy document out I guess it was Monday. So just so you're aware. And I think most of the cities are gonna leave it that way till the end of May and kind of reevaluate, but obviously we'll reevaluate. The only other thing is clerk interviews. I think Rob asked me at the last meeting, what's the status on that? I did send out, I think the week before last, my plan of approach for that. The approach is we need to replace the city clerk. Clerk's duties are statutorily pretty narrow. They're pretty limited. You take minutes, you record the ordinances. It's a pretty narrow definition there. And I think there's room to if we get the right person, to be able to handle all those clerk duties and also do some of the backfilling of some of the stuff that I would otherwise be doing, and really kind of help out in an administrative type role, help me. And so the title I chose was City Clerk and Assistant to the City Administrator. That's a bulky title, and it doesn't really relate everything that I want to capture with that position. So I've got explaining to do to these applicants I'm talking about, because they're kind of scratching their head wondering what it is I'm really wanting. We've had applicants, 30 or 40, maybe it's even 50 applicants, most of which have great resumes. We have people with MPA, Masters in Public Administration. Quite a few of those, probably 2/3 of the applicants have that qualification. And we have applicants with experience, city clerk experience too. So a great field of applicants. I've met with a few just individually. We've interviewed one today. We're going to interview 2 more tomorrow, and the final one. And so hopefully by Monday afternoon, we'll kind of have a decision. Patrick's helping me interview, and I'm having Bonnie help with me. So hopefully by early next week, we'll have a decision there and have somebody coming in very encouraged by the applicants we're getting. And I think we'll be able to, my intent would be to increase our administrative capabilities to address some of these things that that I know that there are priorities for the council and community outreach and some of the backfilling of some of my duties. Looking forward to getting that done. And that's it. I'll stop talking.
All right. Patrick?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Brad?
Yeah, Mayor, just real quickly, just wanted to let the council know that,
Sorry.
all right.
Kevin can't hear you.
Figured I could talk in the back of the room without the mask since we had so much distance, but we just wanted to let you know that the 84th Terrace, 84th Circle, and Taylor Court has been complete. Turned out real well. I was very happy with Little Joe's and did get some compliments from the residents. They're all thrilled too to get that done. And they also, once they started paving the asphalt, they knocked that out in one day. So they did a great job. I just wanted to pass that along. Thank you.
Okay. Council comments. Danny, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Rob?
Mike, I emailed, you said maybe bring it up at the meeting about pool.
Oh, yeah.
And-
Well, thanks for,
My question to Mike was, is it gonna be open to non-city residents, and are day passes gonna be back in play, some of that type of stuff as far as how that goes, considering it's coming up quick?
yeah, it is coming up quick. Thanks for the reminder.
And it's actually, is it full now?
Huh?
Is it totally full now?
It's full, and we had these poor lifeguards in it this morning, and it can't be more than 60 degrees. It is hideously full.
And are we gonna be able to have enough lifeguards and
Yeah,
staffing?
we didn't have a problem.
Because I know some other cities, having laid them off
I've
last
heard
year,
that,
are struggling.
Yeah, no, Justin said he didn't have much of a problem getting lifeguards this year. So, in general, the plan's kind of similar to what we're doing just internally for the math stuff. We're going to open on time. It'll be a full season. For the guest experience, we're not planning on limiting it to just inside the city. It'll be regular, anybody that comes, we're selling season passes. Anybody that comes can get a day pass, if they show up at the gate. We are requiring masks to be worn for the staff, so the lifeguard and the folks up at the counter and the concessions. Lifeguards don't wear masks while they're out on the stands, but otherwise our folks are going to be wearing masks. We're going to continue with the cleaning regimen that we did last year. Maybe not quite as much, but every half hour, every hour, we're doing kind of a deep walkthrough of the facility. What else? We're going to go ahead and put the deck chairs out. Last year we didn't have any deck chairs, hoping to kind of social distance, encourage social distancing, but we're gonna put the deck chairs out. So largely it'll be kind of a pre-COVID sort of operation. With the CDC guidelines about being outside and reduce separation distance recommendations, we don't think there will be many instances where we have the thing so packed that it's going to exceed, some crowd distancing threshold. We are going to, we're not going to do the special events. So last year we did a free admission on a couple of days and some other things to get people out. Those were the days, not last year, but years past. Those were the days when we really had a crowded pool. We're not going to do those events this year. We're going to play 4th of July by ear for now, because that's another day that we give free hot dogs and have some other stuff going on. We'll play that one by ear. So that's the plan. That's the plan now.
Anything else, Rob?
Nope.
Did you have a?
Yeah, I have one
Go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Mayor, I'm thinking of Mike, do we have any trouble with chemicals for the pool this year?
Chemicals, what do you mean?
Like the chlorine?
You mean getting it? Or?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
Haven't heard of any. Is there a shortage or?
Yes.
Oh, really?
But I've
No, I
heard a
haven't
lot
heard.
of trouble finding it, the way I understand. So I just was wondering, because
Huh.
prices have doubled and tripled and, on the people who had existing, and I just wondered if we had run into any problems.
I have not heard. I'll ask Jay.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, that's it.
Lori?
I don't have anything, Mayor, thank you.
Kevin?
I've got nothing.
Kevin Ritter?
Yeah, Kevin. We did reach out to Johnson County Public Works to get a little update about that. We're going to put it in Discovering DeSoto, and I think make a Facebook post. In general, the project's going well. It's about a third done. And what they said was that early this spring, they said that a bridge will be closed for 3 months. We're 6 weeks into it, so that's halfway into it, and it's a third done. So I don't know if we're gonna if they're gonna meet that that 3-month schedule. But other than that, it sounded like the project, they haven't run into anything they didn't expect, and generally it's proceeding okay.
You know, that is a subject that the pharmacy staff is expected to know.
Oh,
We get asked at least 5 times a day, how is the bridge coming along? And we're like, I don't know.
You should get daily updates. You
Yes.
should be calling Jeff Bose and say,
Yeah.
well, no, we'll call Jeff Bose and tell him he needs to call the pharmacy.
Yeah,
at
you
least
can call the
one day.
pharmacy so we can spread the news.
Right.
yeah, it is. Kevin, you're a bit soft on the audio. I'm not sure if it's on my end or your end. Yeah, so, well, I can hear you, but it's a lot quieter than it had been. Well, yeah, so you asked about the roundabout. We're going to give a similar little update on that. So as you know, that they're kind of working on the east half of that that today. Did anybody drive by it this afternoon? They were supposed to be. What's the paving looking like?
Oh, well, so they got the median or the middle, the torn up middle is paved and smooth.
Good.
And then it looks like they got their first lift of base down on the phase 1 area.
Okay, good. So the big bump is smooth.
Should be
now?
gone. They've got you out of that area because they were paving it. That should be, that'll be smooth now.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good.
So yeah, so the plan is they're gonna put the asphalt there, do the curbs there, and then switch the traffic control so they could work on the northwest quadrant. And do the same thing there, remove it, kind of get that in place, and then they'll do the southwest. Up till now, again, no big surprises there, seems to be on track, on schedule. So that's good.
Okay. I just one, I guess I'll throw out one little bit. I've been working with Dante McGrew with Evergy. I want to get a Evergy charging station in DeSoto somewhere. So I've been bugging them, and I think I'm getting closer. But we need to provide a location. My idea is the corridor, the Commerce Park corridor, somewhere, Harps, McDonald's, somewhere in there in some space that we have close access to power and a willing partner that would give up a parking space or two. So I just let you know, I've been working on that, and hopefully we'll have some movement on that.
Good.
And that's all I got, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
That's not, that's us.
We should get that. I think this is. Oh, yeah, believe me.